Immigration to the Republic of Texas from 1830 to the 1840s. So whenever we talk about immigration to the Republic of Texas, we also want to talk about culture that is brought to Texas. So how these new Texans and some of the old Texans are going to live life now that they live in a republic. So first of all, this is a map that breaks down the different populations in Texas. So these are called origin groups, so where people originally came from. Tejanos immigrated from Mexico to San Antonio, and they populated the Rio Grande River Valley. So over here, San Antonio as a population, this is part of the Rio Grande, and then this is a large section of the Rio Grande River Valley that they would have settled upon. Some famous Tejanos are Juan Seguin. You should remember him from the Texas Revolution. He became the mayor of San Antonio from 1840 to 1842. But he was accused of being a traitor because he was a defender of Tejano civil rights. Jose Antonio Navarro was one of the signers of the Texas Declaration of Independence. He's also going to be very influential in the Republic because he will help write the first state Texas Constitution. This will be a group from France. So France is this country right over here. And you see that it's this area that is on the border between Germany, Austria, and France. Really, this is where the bulk of the people from France came from that migrated or immigrated to Texas. So they moved from this area to here in Texas. French immigrants are going to follow a man named Henry Castro. He brought one of the first groups of permanent French settlers to Texas and builds the town of Castroville. They settled along the Medina River, which is this area over here. All right, and then up here, this is Henry Castro's house. Now this picture here is a picture of what they're going to bring with them. So this is their settlement that they came from. So if you've seen any houses that look like this or any kind of settlements that look like this, then it might be some of that European culture being brought to Texas. All right, so this next group is going to be the Irish. So this is Ireland. The people from Ireland will move to Texas into this area. Irish immigrants came to Texas before 1836, so that means they came here before Texas was its own country. Some had received impresario contracts, and more than 1,400 Irish people settled all throughout Texas. So many Irish people moved to an area right beside the Alamo in San Antonio that it became the 7th largest Irish neighborhood in America. So this is that neighborhood, what it starts out as. And this is an inside view of what it would have looked like. This is a picture of where they came from. This is Ireland. This will be Texas. Our next two groups of people are from the Czech Republic and from Poland. So this darker purple color is going to be people that will come from Czech. And this lighter purple color, they're going to come from Poland. So Eastern European immigration to Texas is going to include, like we said, the Polish and also those that were from the Czech Republic. They are Czech. So where are they going to settle? Mainly in South and Central Texas, a lot in the hill country. So this is where they came from. The largest European group is going to be from Germany. So they will come from here, Germany, to Texas and settle mainly in the hill country. They were called the Adelsferen group of European immigration to Texas. So the Adelsferen group is almost like an impresario group. So whenever the Germans moved to Texas, they are going to move together in that Attlesfaran group. They acquired land in the Texas Hill Country, and they established the city of New Braunfels. So if you kind of look and see, that's going to be on the Guadalupe River. A little bit of it will touch the San Antonio River. You've got places that are German type names like Green and New Braunfels. All right, so at the bottom you have all the places that they came from. So this is an inside view of Germany. This type of architecture they will bring with them. And then just having a city square, so having a place in the middle of your city to gather, that is going to be a big deal. That's something that they bring with them. There are going to be several people that are going to move to Texas from the United States between the years of 1830 and 1840. Why do they move? Because of land and economic opportunities, just like all the people that moved from Europe. But they're going to bring a specific culture with them that will be a plantation economy. So that means that they're going to buy up a lot of land and put plantations in Texas. Now, this is not going to be the majority of people. There will be a few plantations, but most people that move to Texas are going to have small farms. But just know that people are going to be moving to Texas to build plantations, which is going to be operated with the institution of slavery. Because the Constitution of 1836 that Texas wrote is going to make it legal to own slaves. They're going to grow cash crops on these plantations. So they'll grow things like cotton, farming and ranching. So the basic family farm is going to be more popular than a plantation. Most family farms grew enough crops just for their own families. They really didn't deal in cash crops. They had few to no slaves. Most ranches raised cattle for their own use. Some did drive cattle to markets. And then after the Civil War, we will see a boost in raising cattle for a profit. But not yet, not during the 1830s and the 1840s. Tejanos owned ranches near the Rio Grande, and this is a thing that they specialized in. Some African Americans were free and owned their own ranches. Not every African American in Texas is going to be a slave. So we don't need to confuse that. We don't need to make a stereotype here. There are several African American men that are going to set up their own family farm. They'll set up their own ranch. They'll set up their own business and live life as a free man. And their families will be free as well. One of those people is going to be Greenberry Logan. So I took this from our textbook. Greenberry Logan, he was born in 1799. He was born into slavery in Kentucky, but was later freed. So in 1831, he is going to be one of the people that will settle in one of Stephen F. Austin's colonies. He was one of the people that fought in the Texas Revolution. He was wounded while fighting. In 1837, Logan sent a petition to Congress asking to remain in Texas. Some of the most respected men in the Republic signed his petition. So the question here is, how does Logan's story demonstrate the challenges of being a free African American in the Republic? So really what we're saying here is, with Greenberry Logan, he was a free African American man, but why did he have to have permission to live in Texas in the first place? And that is because there were some laws that were made during this time that are going to make it so that any person that is African American living in Texas has to ask permission to live there if they're going to live there as a free person. I know it's pretty crazy, but that's what happened. So that's why he's asking permission. And of course, anybody that knew him was going to say, yeah, he needs to live here. He's an amazing citizen. He's an amazing person. Jobs and towns. So most jobs were related to agriculture, which is also what we know as farming and ranching. Larger towns usually had doctors, shopkeepers, blacksmiths, silversmiths, tailors, cabinet makers, and bankers. Houston and Galveston grew very quickly They grew very quickly due to trade and immigration. So why would that be? Why would they have a higher rate of growth in Houston and Galveston? What is the main factor that would cause them to grow more quickly than other communities? Dallas was established and began to grow at this time. Smaller towns did not grow as much, and many people could not pay for the land that they had agreed to buy. So people that moved into Texas, they were going to have trouble making those purchases. So slow transportation meant slow business and growth of cities. So whenever we start getting faster transportation, that's whenever you're going to see businesses start booming, and that's whenever you're going to see the population start booming. So what we have on the left here is a stagecoach. This is one of the main modes of transportation for these people. And then they also had riverboats or steamboats. We have the invention of the steam engine. That's how we're able to have steamboats. So leisure activities, that means what do they do for fun? So they'd have song fests, which would be songs of their people that they'd bring with them from wherever they came from. And also dances. You'd be surprised by how different the dances are from one country to another. They have lots of different dances to share with one another. They would have house raisings and barn raisings. So if they're trying to build a community, they're going to help each other out to build this community and try to make it fun the best way that they possibly can. And that is going to be with a barn raising or a house raising, where they're going to build the frame for a barn or a house in a day by making it a competition. They also will hunt and fish. They'll have theater where they will act out different plays. They'll put on concerts. They'll even have things like log splitting contests in order to pass the time whenever they aren't working. Now you will notice though, some of the fun that they have is actually work. Anytime we talk about culture, there's always going to be literature and art to talk about. So it's difficult to create art on the frontier just for the nature of not being able to get supplies, and you're constantly moving. Most books were Texas history books or about traveling in Texas, which would be very important to the people that were moving to Texas because they want to know where things are and they want to know what they're moving to. There will be poetry written during this time by Mirabeau B. Lamar, the president, and a guy named Reuben M. Potter. There will also be newspapers. People will eat up the news. That means they will read the news like nobody's business. They are starved for information because they're going somewhere that's not fully established yet. So anytime they can get a newspaper and hear word about what's going on in the rest of the world, they are going to be excited about that. Artists are going to be immigrants though. There's a lot of art technique that is going to come from Europe that will go into the art that we will see in Texas. This is a landscape painting. Kind of shows some of these people that move through Texas, through the frontier. We're getting to that point where we start noticing these covered wagons, where that's kind of a normal thing to be seeing. Churches and schools. So there were several different types of churches in Texas because there will be several different religions that will be practiced in Texas. And that will be because we have a more variety of different people. That means we have diversity, which is a good thing. Diversity means you have several different types of people groups with several different types of beliefs. So of course we're going to have Catholicism. So that's going to come from Spain and from France. They will be Catholic. But you'll also have people that will be Methodists and people that will be Baptists. That's going to be the Protestant religion. So that will be people from Germany. That will be people from England. You're going to have large groups that will believe in the Christian faith, but they are going to do church a little bit differently. That's called a denomination. So Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, those are different denominations of the Christian faith. So also with the Catholic faith, you're going to have that large Irish population that are mainly going to be Catholic. Now this is a little bit different though. This is a synagogue and it is in Galveston, Texas. This is where the Jewish people will attend services. So that's where they will meet to practice their religion as a group. On this side, you're going to see what is inside of a school building of that time, and then also what the outside might look like. These are going to be one-room schoolhouses, and usually that means you're going to have kids from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, and that will be called different forms. So they might have the primary form or the elementary form or the intermediate form or the secondary form, which is going to be junior high, high school kind of level. So everybody meets in the same schoolhouse together that is within that community. Usually whatever school you went to was whatever school was within walking distance of your home. Other important people of the Republic of Texas that we might not have talked very much about. Mary Maverick, she and her husband Samuel built a successful ranch near San Antonio. She also recorded her life during the Civil War and also during the Archives War during that Republic era. So this is her in the middle, Mary Maverick. And then also William Goins. So William Goins was a very successful African-American businessman. He was a blacksmith, he was a wagon maker, a mill owner, a landowner, and he was also a bit of an inventor and entrepreneur. So very talented man. And that's all for now.